One thing about listening to the Diabolical podcast I never could stomach. All the damn spoilers.
Maggots, Michael. You're eating maggots. How do they taste? Maggots, Michael. You're eating maggots. How do they taste?
Welcome to Diabolical, the show where four long-suffering friends dissect film's most dastardly schemes, then try to improve them. I'm your host, Ben, just Ben, and this week's movie is 80s vampire romp, The Lost Boys. So dust off those foot-long shoulder pads, and let's get diabolical. Hello and welcome to the podcast, What We Make. As usual, I'm here with the three aging bikers, otherwise known as the Panel of Peril. Please introduce yourselves and tell us your all-time favourite vampire movie.
I resent that biker's crack. You know I can't bike.
You love bikers cracks, I've heard. Hey.
Hello, Count-Attacular here, aka as Craig. My all-time favourite vampire movie is Interview with the Vampire.
Oh.
Yes, quite.
I wasn't able to sit through that.
More for you, that's what I say.
No accounting for taste. No accounting for the taste of blood.
Probably more no accounting for minuscule attention spans.
I'm Gaz, and my favourite vampire film is also Interview with the Vampire.
Hey, snap.
Copycat.
Don't know what I'm looking at.
Hello, Adam here. My favourite vampire film of all time.
Near Dark.
No, it's got the opposite of dark in it. It's From Dusk Till Dawn.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Just because it's batshit crazy.
Quentin Tarantino denies they're vampires, of course. But he's out of his fucking
He's
mind.
out of his tiny little mind.
What?
Yeah.
What does he say they are?
Zompires, like zombies.
It's like the most terrifying version of vampires to grace the big screen, I think, really, in my humble
even
opinion.
it has in the dialogue that they're vampires.
Yeah.
It might not have been Quentin Tarantino, actually. It might have been Robert Rodriguez, but one of them said that they are not really vampires. They're like half zombie, half vampires.
Well, I don't know.
So in that was us.
I really like it. Anyway, I just tried to think of... There's so many vampire movies, isn't there? And it's like, there's tons more vampire movies than werewolf movies.
Come on, Sex Machine!
Yeah. And that's it. And then they just got these huge mouths that open up and stuff like that. And it's the one where if you were in the film yourself, you'd absolutely shit your pants.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just a bloke with pointy teeth, you'd just be like, maybe I can stake him really quick, but...
I think that would be a mistake.
Oh.
Very good.
get it?
Very sharp.
I wrote that one down 3 days ago. I've been gagging to use it.
Were you dying to use it?
Oh, yeah. So my favourite vampire film is The Lost Boys, but I will put out a special mention to What We Do in the Shadows.
Never seen it.
Oh, Adam. You got to watch it.
It's great.
They're learning how to use the internet, and they say, I lost a nice silk scarf back in 1873. Google it. Later, we'll be competing to see who can come up with this week's most diabolical scheme and earn sweet, sweet peril points for the diabolical leaderboard. But first, let's dive into this week's movie. Released in 1987, The Lost Boys was director Joel Schumacher's follow-up to St. Elmo's Fire, bringing together some of 80s Hollywood's most beautiful and talented young actors. It grossed a respectable $32 million against a budget of $8.5 million, placing it 38th in the year's highest-grossing movies, behind Batteries Not Included and Harry and the Hendersons, but just above The Princess Bride and Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol. The film did, however, go on to become a huge success on home video. Would you sassy Lotharios care to guess the top 3 highest-grossing films of 1987? And this is worldwide.
Predator?
No, it's a good guess. That is on the list, but I think that might be below Lost Boys, actually.
RoboCop?
No, I'll give you a hint. The highest grossing film is about when you fancy...
Dirty Dancing.
Oof, Dirty Dancing is number 3 on there. Well done.
Ooh.
Dirty Dancing is at number 3 with $213 million.
What was that hint going to be?
When you fancy someone to death.
Fatal
Fatal
Attraction.
Attraction,
Well done. Fatal Attraction was the highest grossing film of 1987 with $320 million taken worldwide.
Wow.
And number 2 is a sequel.
Fatal Attraction 2.
Fataler.
Even more fatal.
Curly's pubes. A sequel, eh?
Aliens.
Oh, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Holy shit.
Beverly Hills Cop
Wow,
2.
that's a good film.
No, it isn't.
$276 million. I don't remember any of those.
It's well
I
good.
remember laughing at them.
Bridget Nielsen's in the second one, and that's about all I remember about the second one.
Yeah, she is. And then there's loads of things in it. Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah, Eddie Murphy's in it, isn't he?
He goes, or is that Jimmy Carr? I've just done Jimmy Carr on that.
Jimmy Carr was the laugh double for Axel Foley. That's a fact. When I was in LA, I saw the Beverly Hills police station, which is what they used in the film, and it's ridiculous. It's like a work of modern art.
Palace.
Just the money they must have there, obviously.
Is there a Dunkin' Donuts right next door?
No, it's like check it out online. It's like the architect is amazing. We were just walking around the police station as if it was an exhibit. It was such a good looking building.
What were you doing in the police station?
It's right in front of the Beverly Hills sign, the famous Beverly Hills sign that people go to see. So we were kind of walking past that and we saw this police station. We're like, wow.
Commit a crime quick.
Yeah, I think you've been arrested for international terrorism once again. They followed your plan, but it didn't have enough evidence to hold you, so you were released back into society.
Yeah, the angry police chief said that I'm one of the slipperiest customers he's ever come across. He said, get out of my sight. So I did.
And your nickname now in Beverly Hills is the Eel.
So others know me as the Greasy Schlong. The Lost Boys was written by first-time screenwriter James Jeremias in the summer of 1984, along with childhood friend Jan Fisher, and was inspired by Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire and Peter Pan. The script was sold to Warner Brothers, and Richard Donner was brought in to direct, following the success of Goonies. However, during pre-production, Donner was offered Lethal Weapon and shifted to the role of executive producer instead. Having worked on St. Elmo's Fire, Donner's wife thought Schumacher would be perfect to take over directorial duties, and Warner Brothers agreed. In the movie, Michael, played by Jason Patric, and his kid brother Sam, played by Corey Haim, moved to the fictional California town of Santa Carla with their mother, following her messy divorce. On the local boardwalk, Michael becomes enamored of a beautiful girl who rides with a nocturnal biker gang, led by the charismatic David Powers, played by Kiefer Sutherland.
Is that his surname? That's quite funny.
Yeah,
that was his surname.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
Related to Kenny fucking Powers, is he?
Oh, it could be.
Kenny Powers.
God, I need to see that show again.
It just sounds like a guy that works in an office or something. Hi, I'm David Powers.
That's your cubicle, David. Thanks. Michael runs with the gang and gives in to the eternal scourge of peer pressure, thus beginning his transformation into vampire. Michael begs Sam and his new friends, two self-proclaimed vampire hunters who work at the local comic book store, to help him, and the group sets out to kill the head vampire. The Lost Boys is often cited among great 80s kids' heroism movies alongside all-timers such as E.T. and The Goonies, and is credited with injecting style, sex, and humour into the then ailing genre of vampire movies. Turner, if you had the power to make people who ask your opinion of this movie hallucinate, what star rating out of 5 would you make them see floating in front of their faces?
I would say 4 out of 5 stars for me. I am a fan of this movie. It was on my list of movies to pick, so I'm very pleased when you picked it.
I won't be pleased if you pick one of mine. I'll fuck you up.
do you know what? It's one of those, like, Gaz picks up Alpha Papa and you pick this, and it's like, but it's like having 2 picks very close to each other, you know what I mean? So it's like I've had 3 picks. So I'm quite happy about that.
All your Christmases come at once.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, this film, I think, really, there's a lot in it for everyone. It's like proper 80s nostalgia, isn't it? The style peak 80s for a lot of it, isn't it?
It's like a time capsule.
It is. I haven't seen it for a while, so I watched it. I thought, well, yes, it's very much sort of laying the foundations for like Buffy and the other like teen vampire romps that come after it.
Yeah, Joss Whedon has said that it was an influence on him.
It's clear. It's very clear, but I can't remember the last time I watched it. It can't be that long ago. Maybe 10 years or something. I don't think that's not a long time.
That's quite long ago.
It's almost a decade.
It's well, anyway, on this watch I reappraised it again, and I actually like it a bit more now.
Even the vampire makeup is in Buffy is straight out of Lost Boys, isn't it?
Yeah,
the forehead.
It is. This hasn't aged as well. You can see it's a bit grey, but it's great. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and like I say, I'm really pleased that you picked it.
Great. Countertacular.
Well, for me, there are some films, as you know, that give a lot of people great 80s nostalgia that, for one reason or another, I either didn't watch in the 80s or just grew up not really caring about, and I'd kind of seen The Lost Boys. But, just judging it on its own merit and not trying to compare it to other films and assuming that you start with 5 and deduct a star for anything that is shit, I'd have to give it 5 because I thought it was really, really good. I totally get why people have nostalgia for it, but just in its own right, without nostalgia, without that lens, it works really well. Everything that it tries to achieve, and it's not devoid of art. It's shot well. It's got great script and loads of great performances that all fit in the world. So maybe 4.5, but generally I thought it was very good and everything it needed to be.
Excellent. Gaz, are you going to carry on the love train, or are you going to disappoint us?
Well, if we're doing star ratings, I've just looked up what I gave it on Letterboxd quickly. I gave it 3.5. There's nothing wrong with a 3.5. That's 70%. If you get 70% in an examination, that's nearly always an A grade. So don't worry about
solid.
It being 3.5.
So
solid, isn't it?
This is a pass at the University of Gaz, then, is it?
I'd say so. Yeah, it's very enjoyable. It's a bit too painfully 80s at times for my tastes, but by the same token, films from this era do, not in every case, but in the Lost Boys case, do retain somewhat of a magical quality.
Yeah.
It's not quite nostalgia, but like I say, there's just something actually quite magical about them. Just the way that they're shot with the vibrant colours and soft focus, and everybody's perfect, and the hair's coiffed and lacquered, and it's very cool. And like Turner said, yeah, you can see the Buffy influences, which we were all a big fan of back in the day, particularly David. Spike was clearly modelled after him, as well as Billy Idol.
Yeah,
it's a very enjoyable film. I did enjoy my watch.
Yeah, I noticed between this and Labyrinth and just generally stuff that I've seen and remembered, the 80s was a decade in cinema that lent really like unapologetically heavily into high fantasy, which I think is where you get that dreamlike quality you're talking about. There's so many fantasy films of that era that have become beloved, Legend and Return to Oz, stuff like that.
Not only high fantasy, I'd say like pop culture at the time as well. Huge influence, like you say. Then with this film and Labyrinth, it lent heavily on the styles at the time, and particularly Labyrinth. It was Bowie, wasn't it? So and I guess there's loads of other films we could wax on about that do the same.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Gaz on the way it looked, and Turner, I'm with you. I think this actually went up in my estimation on this watch, because obviously there was a nostalgia factor there. But then, as I watched it, as probably as my first time as an adult, actually, I recognised the craft that went into it. It's shot really nicely, and I just found out that it's actually lensed by Michael Chapman, who's the cinematographer from Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. He also did Ghostbusters 2 and Space Jam. But yeah, so it's got that kind of that pedigree, and you can see it. It shows in the way it's shot. I would say for me, some slight third act problems, but because the rest of the film's so good, I can overlook them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The third act is it's rushed and a little bit clumsy, but when I thought that to myself, I also thought, well, there's an element of the kind of that's what they're going for. They want to kind of make it throwaway because the final line and the cut to the credits is so flippant. It's kind of a cool factor. It doesn't need to be showy in the end, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a bit rushed, and maybe what they had in mind they weren't quite able to do. $2 million was cut off the budget, actually, quite late into pre-production. And so they had to cut some corners. So I think probably the finale was a part that suffered a little bit. But it's not enough to spoil the film.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those films where they didn't include some stuff, which actually made it better, whether that was a budget thing or whether it was a choice. I thought when, like, the vampires flying, there's only one point where you see, two scenes where you see him flying, which is where Michael's outside the window and hovering around. But I mean, that's easy. You can just dangle him up and down on a little wire. And then the only other bit is where Michael and David fly together. But that's such a half-second shot or something like that. The fact that they don't show these vampires flying and you see it from their perspective coming down, it's more terrifying that way in a way. And then I also think it helps with the longevity of the film as well.
That's true.
That I think if they've been showing these people dangling around on wires going, oh, we're coming to get you, the film would lose a hell of a lot, I think, from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they knew that, yeah.
We were talking about it last week, weren't we? Less is more. And that's definitely true in this.
Yeah, for sure. It's that forgotten art of considerate filmmaking, I think, really.
Speaking about budget cuts, they actually, to save some money, they persuaded the Top Gun people to share some of their unused B-roll. So there's actually some footage in the film that was taken straight from Top Gun. Well, not used, but shot for Top Gun.
Yeah.
Something like the seaside footage, was it?
Sure, I can't remember exactly what.
From the beach volleyball scene, probably. That's what I'm imagining.
Oh, I know. There was a deleted scene from Top Gun where Maverick flew his plane into a load of kids on the beach at a campfire, shredded them into pieces.
One of them went straight down the engine.
And gives it a cheeky grin to the camera.
And then he says, you can be my wingman any day.
And then the windscreen wipers on his cockpit, take an arm off out of his field of vision.
Smear with blood.
Bit of flesh. All right, before I ask you for highlights and favourite lines, we're going to play a little game I'm calling Did Joel Schumacher Really Say That?
Oh, you've got one of my facts. Sorry.
Don't have any facts, Gaz. You're not allowed facts when I'm presenting. I'm going to read some quotes from Joel Schumacher with a banana skin or two thrown in for good measure. If you think it's a true Schumacher quote, say, "Come on, be one of us." If you think it's bogus, say, "Maggots, Michael." Discussing the original script draft, Schumacher said, "It was very much Goonies Go Vampire, charming and adorable, and very G-rated. The farthest thing that could be in my consciousness."
Come on, us.
Come on, be
Michael.
one of us.
Come on, me.
Come on, be
Michael.
one of us.
Come on, Eileen.
Yes, you're right. It's true. He was going to turn it down, actually.
Yeah.
But he went for a run and then a wave of ideas hit him. He thought instead of a cave, the vampires could live in an old Victorian hotel that had crumbled into the San Andreas Fault during the 1906 earthquake.
Nice.
And that they should be in their late teens and look like a British traveller band was his concept. Riding stripped-down motorcycles. And so Jeffrey Baum was brought in to rework the script. All right. Talking about Santa Cruz, the real town where The Lost Boys was filmed, he said, "There was a murder outside of our hotel while we were preparing the movie."
Come on, be one of us.
Be one of us.
Come on, be one of us.
You're all right, it's true. He also said it was exactly the kind of place you would go if you were a real teenage vampire, because you've got the boardwalk, the beach, a lot of transient young people, a lot of drug people, and runaway kids all over the place. So he said, yeah, Santa Cruz was absolutely ideal for his Santa Carla vision. Okay, the final one. On preparing Corey Feldman for a difficult scene, he said, "I was so frustrated, I just slapped him and pushed the door in front of him."
Maggots, Michael.
Maggots.
Come on, be one of us, Michael.
I'm afraid it's false.
Hey.
He was, in fact, talking about Brooke McCarter, who played the vampire Paul. He added, I've never done it in my life, and never again. I'm ashamed of it. It's outrageous. He should have reported me. I should have been up on charges, but I've apologised many, many times."
One of your little tricks there, eh?
Yeah, I call bullshit on that.
One of my little tricks.
Yeah, it's a half truth.
Yeah.
I've got a really good Joel Schumacher quote.
Oh, so I didn't steal yours.
No, it's actually not about the film. Now I think about it.
You're gonna apologise for interrupting me then.
I apologise for interrupting you.
Apology accepted, Gareth.
In an interview
With a vampire.
in 2019, so a couple of years before he passed away, Joel Schumacher said that he had shagged between 10 and 20,000 men. And when you work that out, that's a guy every single day for 57 and a half years.
Wow.
Every single day.
He's talking out his arse, clearly.
Well, he wasn't talking out of it.
Well, he probably could have done if that was actually true, that fact. Because his arse would have been that slack, it probably could have formed
Well,
sentences.
you could have had 4 a time.
Yeah, four one day,
Oh,
miss a couple of
jeez.
days.
Yeah,
That's still good going, isn't it?
yeah 'cause
That's man Pringles, that is.
Is that more than Charlie Sheen?
I don't know.
He says he's been with like 10,000 women or something like that. And you work it out, it's like 3 a day
they
or
talk about
something.
that also, don't they?
Maybe they were in competition.
Yeah.
Him and Joel Schumacher fucking away and then calling each other. How many did you do today? How many? How many?
I mean, he wouldn't have enough time to film movies. 'Cause you imagine the say 6 month
Could be
shoot
on
of
the
a film.
job while he's doing it.
if they're shooting him from the chest
Somebody
up,
bouncing up and down in his lap as he's looking around him like that, going, yeah, action.
Joel's making that awkward eye contact with me again.
That's it, Corey. Keep going. Yeah. And cut.
All right, let's move on to your favourite moments. Gaz, please kick us off.
Well, you already alluded to it in the false answer quote for the quiz. It's when David is tricking Michael with the food and he's going, "You're eating maggots. You're eating maggots." He looks down and it's maggots, but it's rice.
Yeah.
And he's eating fucking worms. And it's really spaghetti. It's the most childish fucking shit trick. It's amazing. I was like, what are you doing, you fucking idiot? It's like in Arrested Development. I can't remember the actress's name, but when she's got like the lopsided tits, and she just keeps on going, "Up here, Michael, up here." It's like the vampire food equivalent of that.
yeah.
I was pissing myself laughing.
Is it Judy Greer?
Judy Greer, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it, yeah. She's had
Lopsided
augmentation, hasn't she?
tits.
It's so lame.
Yeah. It's funny you should say that. As I was watching this, in my mind, I was thinking the delivery of the name Michael. I couldn't decide if it was Kiefer Sutherland was best or if Will Arnett's was best in Arrested Development.
It's a toss-up.
Maggots, Michael.
Just a bunch of murderous kids, aren't they?
Turner.
Well, I'll start by saying my least favourite moment is the shit cover of The Doors, People Are Strange. I really don't appreciate that. So
Echo and the Bunnymen.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I just think it's just a really sort of run-of-the-mill cover version of The Doors.
I love that.
So
It's great.
Yeah, I don't mind it,
I don't remember the song.
but yeah, I'm a Doors fan.
I love The Doors, so
Yeah.
protect them fiercely.
Do you like the film The Doors? Or do you think it's really, really boring and one of Oliver Stone's worst films?
Sliding doors, yeah. My favourite scene probably is any scene with Edgar and Alan in it, really, because I think they really make the film, especially Corey Feldman. I don't know what direction he was getting from Joel Schumacher or whatever, but every time he's seen, it's just like, okay. And he just, the way he did, I mean, we'll get into favourite lines in a bit, but I think those two together, and I mean, Corey Feldman's a staple of 80s classics anyway, isn't he, really? So, but yeah, there's so many, I guess, hanging when they drop underneath the bridge as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
There's there's so many, but that's my two favourites, I'd say.
Excellent.
Yeah, his tough man voice is very, very funny. It's affected.
It's so
Ricardo's nails.
funny.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was, every time he was doing it, I was just like, why are you not still doing massive movies? It's just ridiculous.
Joel Schumacher said at the time, like the hotel that they took over during production, it was just constant parties. And I'm not sure, it was Haim 13. He was pretty young. And it was, a lot of cocaine going around. And it was just all night,
Shit.
right. It's just teenagers just partying all the time. So it was like it was a mad shoot apparently.
Yeah.
Countertacular.
I really like the 50s B-movie homage where there's teenagers parking in a car and they get the roof ripped off.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. And they just get yoinked out of the car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just reminds me of Aliens, that actually. Getting pulled into the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's very much out of that 50s B-movie sensibility.
Make out point.
Yeah, that's it.
Bury me at Makeout Point.
Did you hear that? No, there's nothing there. Come here, you.
Did it eat them? It ate everybody.
Must be a friend of theirs.
I really like the opening.
Yeah.
It was just a short vignette that, in the same tradition as Jurassic Park went on to do, it's kind of like a little standalone scene that sets everything up nicely, and then you kind of go into the calmer opening. So I enjoyed that.
Great.
Yeah, great helicopter shots, great music. It all comes together. It's really good.
Thou shalt not fall. When that kicks in, I was like, oh, yes, this is so good.
Yeah.
They overuse that to fuck, though, don't they?
I love
Yeah,
it.
it works though.
Yeah.
And then another thing I liked, being a fan of economical and clever storytelling, I liked that we see a lot of the missing children posters at the beginning. Just that starts setting things up really nicely too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of emphasises the bit where they say it's the murder capital of the world and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about things that place it really firmly in the 80s. One of the early things that I noted was that there's a semi-naked saxophone dude who looks like a wrestler for some reason.
I've got that as well.
Playing on the beach.
Yeah.
And it's,
I've got proper 80s nostalgia, mullet, oiled up muscled sax player.
it's like very much a soft rock, funky song, and there's like people headbanging like it's friggin' Napalm Death in the crowd, isn't
Yes,
it?
like
Bit discordant.
The guy's name is Timmy Capello, and he is on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I've got some personal questions, and one of them for Countertacular is Timmy Capello, the topless singer at the beach concert, the sexiest sax player you've ever seen?
I have to say yes, because I'm struggling to think of any others.
Right.
Yeah. But he probably would have been anyway, right? I mean...
I think we need a selection of saxophone players from various 80s
There's
videos.
Kenny G, but I can't...
He hasn't got that sex appeal.
Bleeding Gums Murphy.
Bleeding Gums Murphy, yeah.
What's the name? What's the guy called?
I'm not going to sit here and listen to you think of sax.
Baker Street. You know Baker Street. That's got a good saxophone.
Jerry Rafferty.
Jerry Rafferty. Does he play a sax in that, or is it his saxophone
He
player?
doesn't. I don't think he plays that.
No. There you go. So Jerry Rafferty's sax player. The sax player from Boy Meets World who plays Waiting for a Star to Fall. That's a sexy solo. But I'd like to see.
I'm not talking about their playing. I'm talking about physically. I mean,
Yeah, but
Timmy
that's what I'm
Capello.
saying. But we need to see the videos for these songs.
Okay, all right.
before we
Well,
make
put it in your homework list, Turner.
I will, and I think we should put that out to listeners as well. Is there a sexier sax player than mullet head Timmy O'Toole from the Lost Boys?
Timmy Capello. Right. Since we're on the personal questions, Adam, if your life depended on it,
Yes.
would you rather eat maggots or worms?
Worms.
What?
Yes.
Maggots easy.
No, they explode in your mouth and
Nah, they're meaty,
pop and you'd be
they're tough and like chicken. They don't have any
you
slime
could
inside.
get a worm like that and just swallow it
Oh,
straight
no.
down and be like
It'd be
spaghetti.
wriggling on the way down, wouldn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
you dirty bugger.
Hey, listen to me, right? When I was 2 years old, I used to pick snails off the rockery and eat them. So worms, no issue.
Nothing wrong with that. French
So nothing wrong with
delicacy.
that. Yeah, that's exactly
raw
right.
snails are not a French delicacy.
I set the trend in the UK before 1982. They didn't have any over here.
All right, Gaz, a question for you. Have you ever tasted the blood of another human being?
Don't think so.
Listeners, listeners, Gaz does have the look of truth on his face, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there.
Not that I remember.
All right, let's move on to favourite lines.
Oh, well, hang on, because I got some other stuff to say about the film.
Yeah, the listeners don't want to hear it. They told me. They're texting me at the moment saying, cut Craig off.
Yeah.
I was really pleased to see Edward Herrmann show up in this because I forgot he was in it. That's Max, and he is Rex Rexroth in Intolerable Cruelty.
Oh, of course he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew I recognised him. Choo choo.
Yeah, he's the granddad in Gilmore Girls, which I absolutely love Gilmore Girls and highly recommend you watch it if you haven't already. Also, one of the creepiest things in this film, I think, is the arrival of the little kid in the weird old-timey army uniform.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do they dress him like that? He's only gone missing recently, so why is
he's
he
on
dressed
the milk
like a little
carton.
fucking drummer boy? I thought he was meant to be like a Confederate army time ghost.
Maybe he's like soiled his normal clothes, and that was the only clothes they had in the cave for him.
Speaking of the cave,
It's a
did
hotel.
you notice that? Yeah, vampires like Baileys, don't they?
Baileys?
Big Baileys bottle in
Was
shop.
there?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't see that.
Notice that.
Next to the blood is a huge bottle of Baileys with like a candle in it.
You're joking.
I thought that was really funny.
Just going back to the granddad in Lost Boys, in my notes, I've described him as the Willy Wonka of taxidermy.
It's really funny that they show him putting a stake in the ground like quite early on, and he's obviously put it like stake side up as well, which you wouldn't do if you were like putting a fence in.
Okay, favourite lines, fellows.
My favourite line is going to be an Edgar favourite line, and he just simply says, "It turns holy water into holy slaughter."
Yeah, his fingernails are longer. He always had bad breath, though. It's such a thing that you would say about your big brother.
Yeah.
You gotta put him down somehow.
Well, I actually already did mine in my favourite moments, so all I'll add here is that when they're going onto the beach and into the cave, this is just human people now, I think. I don't think it's vampires. But anyway, they're all just going, yeah! Woo! And it's like, is this just a thing that happens in movies, just walking from one place to the other and go, yeah! I've never considered doing it in real life or seen anybody.
You ever
do
been
it.
to America?
No.
They tend to whoop and holler about all sorts of inane things over there, so
Flash bastards.
yeah. Pricks.
Just alienate the audience there, about half the audience. Cheers, Tyler.
Hey there, folks. How y'all doing? Yeehaw! Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, well, do you know what? We're always characterised as tea drinking, stiff upper lip morons over here. So, take some of that, you Yankee bastards.
I love tea, though.
Hey, I don't drink tea.
I bet you
Yeah,
do.
but you're Japanese.
Yeah, but you're just a freak.
I love tea, and have you noticed when I talk, don't move my top lip very much. It's all done with the bottom.
Neither do I. Yeah, I
And you-
noticed that as
Definition
well.
of a stiff upper
You
lip,
are a moron, notoriously.
and I am a moron. Yeah.
My favourite line was how Kiefer Sutherland delivers Michael. And so I'll give you another example.
Yes, appreciate the line that.
They're only noodles, Michael. It's amazing.
Oh, dear, oh dear.
It's the fact that he says Michael in full every time. It just makes me laugh.
Michael.
Hey, Mike.
Michael.
Join us, Michael.
You've got something on your ship, Michael. Bops him in the nose when he looks down.
All this trick of the book, Michael.
Made you look.
Oh no, Michael! You've pissed all over yourself. I put Saran wrap on the toilet bowl.
David Powers is just a little prankster, is he?
There's one line that I think is a real missed opportunity, which is when the grandpa tells them that he's banging the old widow Johnson. Michael says, "What'd you stuff for her?" But he answers, he goes, "Mr. Johnson." And if he just left there, "What'd you stuff for her?" I would have been thinking, yeah, what'd you stuff for her? Her vagina.
He should have said beaver.
Ooh.
Nice beaver.
Thanks. I stuffed
Yeah.
it myself.
It would have gone straight to PG-13 though, straight away if they did that.
I think it is R-rated anyway.
Yeah, it's a 15
Is it?
over here. Yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay.
It was when it was
Well,
released.
it's the end of it's gory as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
In the bath. Yeah.
Guy melts in
Yeah,
the
that's
bath,
it,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
that
yeah.
other guy, there's like a shower of fucking blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to the villain plot, I'll give you a little bit of an extra factoid.
Ben's facts!
After the success of Lost Boys, Warner Brothers and Donner both wanted to do a sequel, but Schumacher apparently suggested a prequel, introducing the Lost Boys in a story set around the 1906 earthquake.
Mm-hmm. I would like to see that.
He suggested horses, and it would be quite fun.
Yeah.
And then he also suggested a female version, The Lost Girls, starring Drew Barrymore and Rosanna Arquette on motorcycles. But plans kind of faded away, and it was never realised.
That's a shame.
They made something though, didn't they?
They've made a load of them now.
Yeah.
Much later, there was a TV show and a couple of straight-to-DVD jobbies, yeah.
Oh, right.
And a comic.
But you're talking like 20 years after the fact, at least.
Yeah.
There's a comic called Reign of Frogs, which is obviously a reference to the Frog Brothers.
Yeah, right.
It's a Magnolia crossover.
That's what I was going to ask you, Craig. I've written down a question for you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I apologise, Countertacular. You are wonderful in every dimension.
I did call you by your real name before.
Oh, you've
so
got to do it
I
as well
will
then.
give you the compliment now. You've got a silky voice.
Yes, I do.
Well, my question is, the comic in the movie,
Yeah.
is Vampires Everywhere a real comic? And I know you've spotted these comics in the past and then done your research.
I didn't
just wanted
this
to
time.
ask you that.
I don't think it is.
Oh, I know.
don't
I
think it
thought
is. I
maybe
think
it's just
it's-
a cover
yeah.
because it looks quite like a good cover.
Yeah, but on the back it's got a really fake looking advert for another comic. That's what tipped
Okay.
me off.
Okay, fair enough. We'll take it as a fake then, unless one of our avid listeners can inform us otherwise. And
Yeah.
perhaps sink your battleship.
You're asking a lot of the Peril Pals this week. They're going to start charging us.
Well, you've got to give a little to get a little.
You can
So,
send
know
your
what I'm saying?
invoices to my ass.
After all the entertainment we give
P.O.
them,
Box,
guys.
suck my dick!
You should be fucking paying me.
Right, so after David is impaled, we discover that the head vampire is in fact Max, the charming video store owner who is dating Sam and Michael's mother. He had instructed David and his gang to turn Sam and Michael into vampires so that their mother could not refuse to be transformed herself, as he wanted her to be mother to his lost boys. So what did you think of Max's scheming, Gaz?
It's okay. It's hard for me to think about it without taking into consideration how the script tips its hand. I don't know whether it's intentional that as soon as they think it's Max, the fake out that he isn't the head vampire doesn't work for me. I hadn't seen it in such a long time that I didn't remember the twist. It's just, as soon as he's asking to be invited in, it's obvious to me what he's up to. He's acting a bit too vampire-y in that moment, not being sneaky enough, and the kids are onto him
Right.
from the start.
I don't know.
Do you not think?
But he eats the garlic, and then
Yeah.
they explain later that doesn't do anything. But he has a reflection in the mirror, which doesn't make any sense. I read somewhere that part of the lore in this is that if the vampire gets invited in, not only can they come in, but any vampire test you do on them doesn't work, and that's why he's got a reflection.
Yeah, I think that's what they do explain that in a line in the film.
Yeah, they do. It says it renders you powerless, doesn't it, when you invite
All
him
right,
in?
George Lucas.
But I guess the other lot break in, don't they? So I guess that's why all the shit happens to them. Holy water still works and stuff like
Right.
that.
Okay.
But they can still come in, though. But I don't understand.
Well, to me, at the time, I thought, even though I remembered, obviously I texted you guys and said, I remembered the twist as soon as I saw him pop up. But I still thought in that scene, I was like, how come he's got a reflection? That I think that would have thrown me off if I didn't know. Just the fact that he has a reflection. I would have been like, oh, okay, he's not then. And I thought it was intentional that he got asked to be invited in so that you go, oh, he's definitely him.
Yeah.
And then you see his reflection and you go, oh, no.
No.
Yeah, so it's
Does
messing
all
with
the
you
other shit.
in that way. Yeah, definitely.
That's what I thought.
It's a double negative.
I never bought, even though you could see his reflection and he ate mountains of garlic. I still just thought it's definitely him. What I would say is it's a very laudable scheme, isn't it? Starting a new family. Fair play to the lad. He's he's doing a good thing for two families there. Good on him.
Well, just as a counterpoint, I'm going to suggest that he doesn't really have much of a plan, and that David and the other boys kind of recruit Michael without, not only without him telling them to do it, but he seems to be pissed off with everything they do. And he's like, get out of the store. I don't think he's got a real plan. It just kind of falls in his lap a bit.
He's no micromanager, is he? For sure.
He's told the Lost Boys to get Michael, right?
Has he?
That's why they don't just kill him outright.
Yeah, but it's not quite clear though, because later on Star says to Michael that he was supposed to be her first.
Yeah, she was supposed to kill him.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know if there's just like a mix up in the script or whatever, but he's very hands off anyway. He doesn't deal with the whole plot.
Delegation. That's what you need.
Yeah, he doesn't delegate anybody to get Sam though, does he? So
Yeah.
and then that's the whole bit where he falls apart because he's the suspicious one after meeting the comic book guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's where the Peter Pan comes into it, because Peter's goal is to get Wendy to be the mother to the Lost Boys. So if you say that, Max is Peter and the Lost Boys, for Peter Pan, they're kind of out of control, aren't they? That's kind of the point. That's why he thinks they need a mother. But he goes off and gets her, whereas I feel like in this, she just kind of falls in his lap. He doesn't seem to have much of a plan to me.
Yeah. I think he meets her after Michael has run into the Lost Boys, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah.
In the video still.
Timeline.
Yeah.
She just wanders in to get away from them. Is that what happens?
Yeah, I think so.
Although, mind you, have they driven her into there so that they do meet?
Maybe.
I don't know, because he tells them to get out though, doesn't he? He says, "I told you not to come in here again."
Thrown her off the scent there, though, perhaps.
I don't know. It's a bit vague in all respects, I think, really.
Yeah. I mean, if he did, in fact, tell the Lost Boys to turn Michael and Sam in order to persuade the mother, I think it's a fairly sneaky idea. So I'll give it 5 florets of broccoli.
And a bulb of garlic.
Ooh. Just to keep myself safe from any recriminations.
A bulb or a clove?
A bulb. Get that whole fucker in there.
A whole bulb? Jesus, that's going to be some garlicky broccoli.
So this is the part of the show where we compete to see who can improve the villain's scheme the best and earn precious peril points for the diabolical leaderboard. We'll each share an alternative plan and vote for our favourite at the end. Max uses his dazzling personality and his vampire spawn to try and persuade the object of his desires to become mother to his lost boys. But he is ultimately unsuccessful. Countertacular, what would you have done differently?
Okay, here we go. California, USA, 1987. The heyday of HIV.
Those were the days. Those halcyon HIV
takes
days.
me back.
I told you to get ready. Dirty Dancing is steaming up the box office, launching a trend for young men to try to pick up girls with their hands up the tutu. The Bangles melt the charts with the sultry sounds of Susanna Hoffs, causing many to learn how to wank like an Egyptian. And 20-year-old Mike Emerson is your typical horny all-American teenager. When Mike moves into town with his mother and young brother, VHS-loving vamp Max recalls what it was once like to be young, dumb, and full of cum. He's heard from his lost boys that Mike has shown an interest in both Star and David, but hasn't yet sealed the deal in either sense. As a man of means, reaping the fantastic revenue afforded by the burgeoning market in video rentals, which will presumably never collapse, Max is easily able to afford 2 things. First, he buys David, Star, Laddie and the boys tickets to Disneyland Resort in Anaheim, along with some spending cash to get them out of the way for a bit. And second, the services of a fine working girl. I'm talking like the Kelly LeBrock you ordered from Wish. He uses his preternatural sense to sniff out just the right one. Something in the blood. He arranges a meet-cute for the girl, who claims to be the daughter of their kind, rewinding new neighbour. One thing leads to another, and before you know it, Mike has AIDS. Well, HIV, but Distraught and helpless, Lucy confides in Max, who reciprocates, letting her know about his shocking secret, but assuring her that the stories she may have heard about vampires are all boo-hockey, and that he's truly a nice guy. His blood just happens to flow with the power to heal and stave off all disease. He begs her to let him help. What mother could refuse? Initially, she is, of course, naturally wary and distressed when her son begins to writhe in agony and crawl across the ceiling, but Max is able to convince her that, while the ceiling crawling is definitely a side effect of his wonderful claret, the agony is probably hepatitis. Once Mike is looking hale and hearty again, Max plays his cards and asks Lucy to imbibe also. Her child will never age now and will always need a mother. Also, his daughter had AIDS and probably Hep B, so she needs more parenting too. Lucy is unsure, but her maternal instinct is strong, and she sees that Mike needs her, so she agrees. Her dad doesn't come back because Max already turned the widow Johnson previously, and she's bit his cock off.
He's too busy stuffing it.
So there you go.
What happened to Sam?
Well, eventually he's just brought into the fold as well.
Wrapped up in a neat little bow there, eh?
That's a bit of a shoo-shoo.
Old
Right.
Lucas one line. There's that little prologue. Just one line flashes up in black screen, white text, like the end of a Chinese film that they've edited.
Well, to him as well, all he knows Max for in this scenario is the nice guy who saved his brother from AIDS.
Yeah. I also think Lucy is a bit more desperate to find somebody. That's the whole way she comes across in the film, to be honest. No?
Like, she's looking for a father as well as he's looking for a mother.
Yeah, well, she's that first day, she's in the restaurant, didn't she? And he's flying about and stuff, and then
Yeah.
gets a call and she fucks off and leaves him sitting there, doesn't she? So she's definitely trying to pull out all the stops to impress him.
I think so.
So yeah, I feel your vibe on that one for sure.
How does Max find sex workers who definitely have HIV? Is he just walking around?
He can smell.
He can smell it.
Well, he knows blood. He's a vampire. So he can tell when blood is diseased. It has a different taste and smell.
Okay.
So he sniffs out just the right hooker.
What's your timeline on this plan? I don't know how quick AIDS moves.
I think probably he'll tell the girl that she has it and tell her to tell him. And what I pictured is that at the end of it all, he probably does bring her into the family as well. This this working girl. So it's a nice rounded family. Because he's pretended it's his daughter, so he has to kind of keep it up. So
Right. And he's a vampire anyway, so I suppose
right.
months mean nothing to him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I don't think it would take that long. I think, they get it on. He thinks it's going to be a one-night stand, maybe, Michael. But then the next day, she goes, "Oh, by the way, sorry, I've got AIDS." And he's like, "Oh, no, that's too bad for you." And she's like, "No, that means you have as well." And he's like, "Oh, fuck, God."
Could we change it to have David break the news and he just goes, "AIDS, Michael."
Yeah, maybe. But he has to phone him up from Disneyland to tell him.
You just hear Mickey in the background going, "Ooh."
Goofy going, "Oh, no. That's too bad."
Oh, shucks.
That was lovely. That was really good. All right. Let's move on to Turner.
Okie dokie. Lucy. She's a woman down on her luck. And if it wasn't for the interference of her eldest son, she'd already be a vampire. Max needs to manage the situation more closely to get the boys on board. Michael looks like he's having a 3-day hangover rather than enjoying all the benefits eternal youth and immortality bring. David hasn't given it the hard sell. Kids aren't the same as it was in his day, when chasing a hoop down the road with a stick was all a child had to look forward to. An easy decision back then to turn your back on the mortal world. Clearly, Michael is motivated by pussy and motorbikes. Why not combine the two? No, not a motorbike with a fanny, a girl with a motorcycle. Jesus. If you're thinking that's basically Star, you're wrong. She can't drive a motorcycle. She still has stabilizers on a bicycle, for Christ's sake. She might have Michael's attention, but David soon deals with that. Where's Star, David? She's gone, Michael. We weren't butch enough for her. She and that stupid little kid ran off with some Hell's Angels. I hope you're happy. It was your fault. Michael looks crestfallen and rejected, but he knows, deep down, he isn't butch enough for Star either. Secretly, Star and the kid have been killed and their bodies burned. Under Max's direction, David lures Michael to a biker meet where he tells Michael loads of sexy biker girls are gonna be. I like the feel feel something throbbing between my legs, says one Cyndi Lauper lookalike motorcycle enthusiast to Michael. When I've got something hard in my hand, I always can't resist giving it a twist, says another scorcher. Michael's eyes nearly pop out of his head. You can have any girl you want, Michael. Drink her blood, become one of us, and then turn her yourself. She'll never leave you. Or pick another. Whatever, it's your choice. Later, they all go and steal really sweet motorbikes from a shop and then razz them around a bit. Plus drugs. And the world's largest jelly snake. They also steal that from a sweet shop downtown. They also go and kill some people Michael thinks are pricks. Michael is having the best time since sliced bread and decides murdering people is actually worth it for a sweet set of wheels and his pick of hot babes. The younger son, Sam, is an easier target. Lucy tells Max that Sam is frustrated with living with his grandfather as he doesn't have a TV and other modern furnishings of the 1980s. That and his taxidermy business is doing his head in. Before Edgar and Alan can get their claws into him, and Sam's curiosity in his brother's activities peak, Max invites Lucy and Sam around for a meal, while Michael and his boys continue to get acquainted. After dinner, Max invites his guests through to the lounge, and he unveils his devious plan. How about the ultimate in remote-controlled entertainment with Fisher, says Max. Computerized remote control, 27-inch stereo broadcast TV, VHS hi-fi stereo VCR, 150-watt amp, digital tuner, programmable CD player, dual cassette, programmable turntable, 10-band equalizer, 3-way speakers, and cabinet. Sam almost faints. That's something that interests you, Sam, says Max. Sam lunges at the remote control and throws himself down onto Max's sofa to watch MTV, blasting out through the entertainment system. Max also has an Apple Mac 128K, NES, fax machine, and camcorder off to one side, just as a backup. Max takes Lucy to one side and confesses his love for her, his undying love. He can provide for her and the boys, and that also he is a vampire and wishes to make her his bride for all eternity. Max tells her that Michael has already been turned by David and is living his best life, and that she can be the one who turns Sam if she just in turn agrees to become a vampire. Fed up with working loads of shit jobs and living with a weird dad with no telly, she agrees. A few days later, after Lucy turns Sam, the whole family track down Edgar and Alan and feed them to Sam to complete his transition.
All right. Any questions for Turner?
Batshit crazy? Enough for you?
It's up there.
I guess this is going to be true of everybody's plan, but
Yeah. But it's got to be, hasn't it? Really. So
not that.
I didn't think I would be rooted in sanity with us by a long way, and I thought I was being good company.
Yeah, not that. But what I was wondering about is because he hasn't fed in the film, Michael kind of retains his morality and wants to fight back. And don't you think that Sam would, and that maybe the mum would be a little bit reluctant to become a vampire just because he offers?
No, it's because he's you know, at the start of the film he makes a big deal of like, there's no telly, there's no MTV, oh fuck's sake, you know, what am I going to do? Lucy tells Max a story, we haven't got a telly, my youngest is pulling his hair out, and then I actually did some research into like 80s entertainment systems.
Oh, I could tell.
Yeah.
It's fucking $5,000 at the time for this exact.
Fuck me, that's crazy.
And I thought, well, if $5,000 in 1987 doesn't impress a teenage kid, then I'm up shit creek.
That would stop him going to the comic book store as well, because he'd just be plonked in front of that.
Oh, yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah, he just goes to the comic books. I mean, he must still like comics, but you know what I mean? He's just meandering around because he's absolutely at his wit's end, isn't he?
Good stuff.
All right, if there are no further questions, We'll move on to Gaz's plan.
See how many typos and mistakes I've got this week.
How many fucking question marks?
There's a few, not as many as last week, though. I'm just asking questions, guys. Will you be my vampire lady baby tonight, as the old chubby checker song goes? Flinging his big old arms around he was as he sang that lovely, lovely ballad, an ode to all the lovely, lovely vampire mothers out there. Now, I'll be honest for a moment, if I might, but I thought he died in that aeroplane crash in the 60s or 70s. But it turns out I was wrong, and he's alive and well. So there we are.
Fats Domino.
It was the Big Bopper.
It was the Big Bopper.
I had to live through the horrible music of the Big Bopper and then the horrible tragedy of his death.
Any questions about Chubby Checker before I carry on?
Shout out to Johnny Horsley.
Now then, if Chubby Checker had played the role of Max, I really do just wonder what that might have done to change the texture of the film, do you think? Would have been quite different, wouldn't it? Because Checker, to my knowledge, was not an actor, a professional actor at any rate, although that's not to say he didn't do anything at an amateur dramatic style level, because he might very well have done. I don't know, unfortunately, but if you'll humour me for 5 or so minutes, I can do a little digging and see what I can find.
All right.
What I would say is, if Chubby Checker had played Max, that would have been a very different twist, wouldn't it?
Can I go for a piss while you search for stuff?
I'm
not really
search.
searching for it. It's an act. Quite clearly, Turner.
It was a jape.
Well, let's get through his plan and then...
jape.
So I'm acting out part of his plan. Don't spoil it for everybody. You just wrecked it for the listener now.
Your inception layers me.
Episode. It's your episode, and you've shit all over it. You own it. All right.
Okay.
Sorry,
okay.
Adam.
The Lost Boys. That's a bit of a misnomer, though, isn't it? They're not flipping lost. I can see them right there on the screen, the daft beggars. What are they like? Bunch of flaming daft trotters, beggars, chancers, whatever colloquialism you'd like to throw at them, really. And Chubby Checker, he could throw a lot at them as a big lad. Oh, he's a big, rugged, handsome lad. And if you step out of line, he'll give you a swift clip over the ear hole before twisting away again like he did last summer. It's a summer tradition for him, and the film's set during the summer, I think, isn't it? Parties on the beach every night. I think it must be set during the summer at least. Any ideas as to whether the film's set during summer, anybody?
I believe it is.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, no, it isn't.
Give me 5 minutes and I'll Google it.
On with the plan. Michael.
He's behind you.
Is nigh on under the thrall of David and the... have you ever called him Kiefer Sutherland? It's quite a good gag. He's under the thrall of David and the gang. And, I think he'd be even further under the thrall of David were he to be played by Chubby Checker. Yes, our favourite funky bossa nova choo-choo man would make a wonderful David with his leather jacket and his slicked back bleach blonde mullet, although, as I say, I'm not aware of any prior professional acting experience. He may have, but I'm not sure. He'd be all like, maggots. You're eating maggots, Michael. And now let's twist again. And I feel it would come across a lot better to both fictional characters and the viewers because he's a likeable chap. Now for the cherry on top of that cake. The detail that seals the deal, the dot above the I, the cross on the letter T. Lucy, played by Dianne Wiest. And she's good, isn't she? But I just have a little nagging feeling, a little doubting Thomas that tells me that we might be able to give her role a bit of extra pep.
She's played by Chubby Checker.
I'm going to suggest that Lucy instead be played by Chubby Checker.
It's the fucking...
He'd bring a certain charm, insouciance, innocence, and a very motherly quality to the role. Swinging his arms about as he goes, twisting like he did last summer once again.
Oh, man.
Jesus Christ.
Now, this is the clever part. I, Gareth Slade, invent... I, Gareth Slade, invent time travel, then time travel back in time to meet the casting director and insert Checker's name onto the shortlist for these 3 key roles. Unable to resist the pull of Checker, Joel Schumacher and his casting director would cast him in the 3 key roles of Max, David, and Lucy, thereby changing the very fabric of the screenplay for the better and ensuring that Lucy cannot resist the charms of Max, but ensuring that David is a little more reasonable in how he recruits Michael and subsequent other family members. They all then live together as one big, happy, chubby Checker family.
I think it's cruel if we ask questions of this.
Yeah, I'd just like to basically give you a statement. Is like, you will not get a point from me this week. So, that's it.
I got one question, which is, did you come up with this plan after Ben mentioned that there was a twist in this film? Is that what inspired you?
Now that you mention it, I suppose that could have been seeded, couldn't it? I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you were listening to Jive Bunny records.
He incepted you.
Yeah.
Can you name another famous example of a time when the casting of a major character has radically altered the screenplay, not just in terms of dialogue, but in terms of plot?
In terms of plot.
Beetlejuice. I'll help you out. There you go. Who was in that? Michael Douglas?
No, it's Billy Crystal. Huh?
Charlie Sheen.
Billy Crystal, that's who I was thinking of. Michael Douglas is Michael Keaton's real name. That's why that came out.
So, Gaz,
Yes.
I mean, the very, very many holes aside, if you did have chubby Checker in those 3 key roles, do you think they would have the visual effects enough to make that work?
Yeah, you just lock the camera off and you know, get the eyeline match in, and be like the film that I had in mind was Multiplicity, starring Billy Crystal again.
I guess if we were really putting a hole in it, like if we were being serious, not that I'm suggesting you're not being serious with this plan, but I would say that this is a plan affecting the real world and not the world of the story. Yeah. You want to physically go back in time in real life and recast the part. It's not a plan that the character's coming up with, which is, you know, if we were being a stickler for the rules.
Oh yeah, I think it's clear this is absolutely nuts.
Well, I can't argue with it, but I can flick the V's and blow raspberry.
All right, let me bring this home.
Come on, then.
So how do I persuade someone to become mother of my group of wayward youngsters? I stare out of the window of my thriving video store. Look at them all, the dregs of humanity. Mindless slaves to one vice or another. Mindless slaves. Hey, now there's an idea. I rush out onto the boardwalk. I don't have to go far. A shady fellow with a hooked nose and sunken eyes sells me a starter bag of Sweet Lady H for just a few dollars. On our next date, I use my hallucinatory powers to disguise the needle in my hand as a red rose. Oh, I'm sorry. Did its thorn prick you? Little does she know she's just been injected with a smidgen of heroin. She has the time of her life with me that night, falling even deeper in love with me. The next morning she wakes up. She feels low. And worse than that, she craves something, but can't put a finger on it. It dogs her mind all day like a hellhound protecting its master. The next time we meet, I inject her again. This time the needle's disguised as a mosquito that lands on her arm. I'll get it, I say. Oh, was I too late? It pricked you. She starts to feel fulfilled again, her craving finally satisfied. She tries to work out what's causing these feelings. She might realize today or maybe tomorrow. It doesn't matter. But when she's with me, she feels good, satisfied. And when she's away from me, she feels cold, down, and her skin feels like it's crawling with maggots. Over time, she develops a physical addiction to the horse, but rationalizes it as being madly in love with me. As I gradually up the dosage, she begs to spend more time with me. Let's get married, I say. Naturally, she wants to spend the rest of her life with someone who makes her feel this damned good. But I must warn you, I say. I'm not like other video shop owners. By the time I reveal my true self, she's so far gone, she'll do anything for my sweet, sweet candy. And getting her to be the mother of my lost boys is a cinch. Bless this scuzzy town.
All right.
Well, my first question is, would you really want a smackhead to be mother of your kids?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Once she's turned to a vampire, that'll all be gone, won't it? So then her only addiction will be
Yeah.
feeding.
I don't know, because they still drink Baileys and they still eat,
Yeah.
Chinese food.
Yeah, and then I think that speaks higher of vampires than it does of smackheads. And she's going to be in a hell of a state by the time you marry. If it keeps upping her dose, she's going to be jonesing for a fix all the time. The teeth are going to be all wonky and knackered.
That beats
That's-
any meat injection. That beats any fucking cock in the world.
Maybe she just she'll realise what's happened to her and go chasing the dragon elsewhere.
Yeah, maybe if she can't get high when he's not around, she'll turn to like alcohol as the
Yeah.
thing she knows.
Yeah.
No, she the dose will be
Yeah.
very high, and it will be kind of kept. It'll be kept low on purpose.
Okay.
But it'll be enough so that when she's with me, she knows she feels good.
I
When
got a
she's-
different question for you then, because you asked me about timelines with my plan. So I'm going to ask you, how long does it take to get addicted to heroin on a microdose?
Well, I've experimented with this just for the purposes of the plan.
Yeah,
I could say 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been microdosing heroin for years and it's
Yeah.
very small.
Sort of pick me up in the morning.
So there you have it. Any more questions?
So,
No. I thought you were going somewhere quite different when you said mindless zombies, though. I thought you were going to lobotomize her and have her be like a lobotomized vampire wife.
That's even better. I wish I'd have done that.
just blankly doing the dishes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for another episode. Thank you for listening. Some absolutely diabolical schemes there. Now it's time to vote. We had Craig's 80s AIDS adventure, Turner's sexy biker and entertainment system odyssey, Gaz's twisted ode to Chubby Checker, and my harebrained heroin scheme.
I must say, I love that summary.
Thank you. Let's cast our votes, and remember, each vote is worth exactly 1 point for the diabolical leaderboard. Turner, who have you voted for?
I voted for the plan that I think made the most amount of sense and wasn't a load of old fucking poppycock, which is Count. Oh, shit. There he is.
Count who?
Count-Tacula!
All right, Gaz.
And I've also written the words Count-Tacula.
Well, since we're on this gravy train, I've also voted for Count-Tacula.
And I voted for the one that would have made me embrace my new stepdad. I voted for Adam.
So, Gaz, what has that done to the diabolical leaderboard?
Well, we have a brand new leader as Count-Tacula sits at the top with 3 points. Joint second place with 2 points each is myself and Ben. And bringing up the rear with 1 point is Turner.
You're only as good as
Wow.
your last game.
It's all to play for. So, Count-Tacula, as next week's host, please tell us what film you've picked for us.
I've really ummed and ahed about this because I've got a big list.
All right, stop showing off.
Give us an example if you're humming and ahhing, please.
Do you want me to blow into a jug as you and ah?
I'm going to pick a film where I've thought about what the aim would be. Sometimes I just put a film and then I have to watch it and think what the aim is. But I'm going to choose the film First Blood.
Very good.
That's it for another episode. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow us on your podcast platform of choice so you never miss an episode. But most importantly of all, tell your friends about us. We love that you allow our little podcast to come into your ears. And we would love the opportunity to come into many more people's ears too. Please help us achieve our dream of coming into as many ears as possible. Follow us on the usual social medias at Diabolical Pod throughout the week for more old twaddle. And join us next time when we'll be dissecting First Blood. And remember, sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, and never die.
It's good advice.
Lucy, played by Dianne Wiest. And she's good, isn't she? Everyone, come on, give her a round of applause.
Hey.
Well done, Diane.
I refuse to play this game.
Very good. She's very good. Dianne Wiest. We've all agreed, haven't we? She's very good. Excellent in Edward Scissorhands. Various other childhood classics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I just have a little nagging feeling. Yeah, very good. She deserves it.
Sorry, it was a delay in the audio. I just...
Little round of applause for Parenthood.
Yeah, very good. Everyone loves Parenthood.
Who's going to get the last clap, though?
But...
I think Michael got the clap in Craig's plan.
Very good. I was about to say, Ben, you've lost control of this episode, but you got it back.
Did he ever
It's
have
got on a
control
loose
of-
rein. Very loose rein.